Welcome to Creator's Edge Studio. I'm Tom Arcoop.
And I'm John Colton.
We have a quick take for you on Foundation, the Apple TV series. Isaac Asimov, science fiction. John, you have a take on this. I'd like to hear it.
I've just seen the trailer,
Mhm.
and I have to say it looks really compelling.
Yes.
The trailer was done definitely the way you should do a trailer.
Mhm.
I'm intrigued by the suspense.
Mhm.
I want to know more. It
Right.
looks like a $1 billion franchise movie.
Yes.
It looks like a summer blockbuster
Truly.
in terms of the quality of the CGI and the great story involved, all the high concept science fiction. And I read a
Okay.
lot of sci-fi in my day. Douglas Adams, Ray Bradbury, Philip K. Dick,
Yes.
Arthur C. Clarke, Robert Heinlein. Asimov was always intimidating to me for some reason. And
Ah.
somehow this makes him seem very approachable.
Yes, that is a phenomenal thing about this is that the whole thing is very approachable. In fact, I really connected with it. I noticed that we have a lead female actor, Llobell, who looks like she's going to serve, at least in part, at least from the trailer, is going to serve as kind of the audience surrogate character. That is, she has questions, and her questions are the questions that we, the audience, have.
You think she might be kind of the Dr. Watson to the Sherlock Holmes
Well,
in essence.
powerful idea that you're sharing there. She's like the every person for us, possibly. And Harry Seldon, that's the gentleman with the beard. The actor is Jared Harris. I mean, Harry Seldon is the amazing one, like the amazing Sherlock Holmes. He's a mathematician, and he's the one who comes up with psychohistory. He can see that the empire is going to fall apart. And in fact, Asimov built the Foundation series around the idea about the Roman Empire falling apart. And what could you do to not fall into the Dark Ages? If you could have something, and I believe it was the Encyclopedia Galactica, if you could have something that you could preserve the knowledge so that instead of having 1,000 years of dark times, maybe we'd have only a couple hundred years of dark times because it was preserved. The foundation, the progress, all of that was preserved.
So it sounds like to me is he was the Jor-El
Oh,
was to Krypton is what Harry Seldon is to this empire.
right. How about that? And it's interesting how you pull that together. So, I know exactly what you're talking about. These elements, the extraordinary character, the mentor character, the scientist, the person who's almost magical. They're so wise and extraordinary, like Obi-Wan Kenobi, for example. It goes from story to story. It's structure. By the way, that also allows us to shift into what we're going to be learning in this episode, which is something I call the artist override. When I'm working with a new novelist and I'm helping them explore things, I don't just drop a ton of rules on their head. What I'm interested in is three things connected to what I call the artist override. One is, what is the artist's intention? Sometimes the artist's intention is more important than a rule. Like if you are writing a description of a character in a screenplay, you're supposed to avoid using too many details about appearance because you're not trying to box in the casting. But it may be important to say that this particular character has a blue iris in one eye and a hazel iris in the other eye. There may be something that's very important, and there's an artist intention to get that specific. For example, in my trilogy of novels, Jenny Storm is 18 years old. She's up against dragons and vampires and werewolves. And the one detail about appearance that I emphasize is that she has a braid of hair on the left side of her face. And on the end of the braid is a crescent moon charm. Now, that becomes really important in novel 4. Still, it's great to read the first trilogy of Jenny Storm novels. It's urban fantasy. And now I'd like to talk about the second part of the artistic override. What do you want the audience to feel? I'll give you an example. I was directing a feature film. The rule is you always stop the camera if you're doing a trucking shot. That means the camera is going along with the characters. You always stop the moving shot before you cut to another angle that is still. And I broke the rule on purpose because what did I want the audience to feel? I wanted the audience to feel jarred with the next line of dialogue. And in fact, the line was, we get deported, okay? Because the guy was distraught. So cutting from a moving camera to a still camera, different angles, was my artist override. So what do you want the audience to feel? And finally, number 3 is unity. That is, the unity of the whole artistic work can rise from the artist's subconscious mind. Many top authors, when they are in a classroom and the students, perhaps graduate level or college level, are saying, oh, in your best-selling book, it was really an expression of the societal pressure upon that character. And the novelist is going, that's interesting. And they're thinking to themselves, I really wasn't thinking about that specifically, but perhaps that came out through my subconscious mind. Now, John, is there something you would like to add?
One of the rules that gets brought up a lot in screenplay writing is never use a flashback and just keep your movie progressing. But then a lot of great movies have used flashback.
Yes.
Or they've had their story hinge on a flashback scene.
Right.
Citizen Kane comes to mind. And the movie doesn't work without that flashback scene.
Right.
Or The Usual Suspects. Or even the movie The Notebook. The whole movie is basically a flashback. Same thing with Saving Private Ryan.
Got it.
It might be the difference between doing something commercial and being an artist. A great filmmaker like Stanley Kubrick, I don't think if he explained exactly what the whole movie was going to be like before he did it, I don't think they would let him make it, or they wouldn't give him money.
Okay.
So I think it's a little bit of a surprise. But again, I think that's the definition of being an artist. I mean, what is Picasso if not someone who broke the rules?
Right. And that's the thing. So we break the rules, we break it with intention, we break it because we want the audience to feel something. We break it because we're allowing what's inside us to percolate, to rise up from the subconscious mind. And all of this is necessary, that there are times when the artist must override the rules, must override convention. Then you can get something fresh, original, and moving to the audience. Thank you, John.
Thank you, Tom.